we've been having here a new year that was basically dominated by attacks by drones, but also by an inspiring speech by President Zelensky, who managed to somehow inspire people to withstand the attacks that happened in the last few days, and especially at the night of the New Year's Eve.
President Zelensky has mentioned that he hopes that the conflict will end this year, but at the moment it doesn't seem that that's particularly likely. Do you think that there's a potential it'll end on the battlefield or perhaps on the negotiating table, or what chance of it grinding on into 2024?
No, we don't see an immediate end to the conflict, at least here in Kiev, but also on the front lines that I visited in the last few months on a regular basis. Both sides, both President Zelensky and both the Russians, don't send any signals that there's room for negotiation at the moment. On one hand, what we see from the Ukrainian side in Kiev is that everyone is united behind President Zelensky, and everyone wants to see all territorial integrity regained within this conflict. And we have a huge support from Western countries, from the international community to do so. On the other hand, the Russians are sending military signals that they're getting ready to attack, perhaps from Belarus, as we've seen, and also to strengthen their front in Donbass. And on top of that, we've been having these ongoing attacks, not only in Kiev, but on Christmas Day we had it in Kherson, where dozens of people lost their lives, and now even on the border with Poland in Western Ukraine we had attacks the other day. So no signs of peace at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, you talk about the huge support from the West. I mean, do you still feel that in Ukraine? Do you worry that there is an element of fatigue, war fatigue, if you like? I mean, we've heard from Boris Johnson, our former Prime Minister, over the weekend, saying he's more convinced than ever that Putin will lose this war. We've heard from Jens Stoltenberg, the head of NATO, saying that we must continue our support of Ukraine in terms of arms. But do you still feel that you're getting enough support?
Well, the feeling is very much real, because the support we're getting here in Ukraine is not only a military one from NATO and from countries in Western Europe, but we also be getting humanitarian aid, huge humanitarian aid, and we be getting support in informal networks. All my friends or my colleagues are getting support messages, especially over the holidays, from their friends, from their families, from their loved ones, and from people abroad who are at the moment still supporting Ukraine. That, of course, can change at any time, because people are affected, and we understand that here in Ukraine. We understand that people are affected by the huge energy prices increases, inflation and all that. But what I think people should understand is that Ukraine will only last as long as people will be behind and support the idea of territorial integrity and freedom, those two main things that Ukrainians are defending at the moment.
And very briefly, sometimes the impact on normal life is ignored with all the focus on the battlefield and the negotiations and what the leaders of various countries are saying. What was the impact of living of New Year's Eve, living under a curfew, and with those government edicts that you shouldn't use fireworks, and churches couldn't go past their normal midnight service?
Well, it was definitely a different New Year's Eve than what people usually have here in Kiev, in Ukraine in general, and especially after midnight, half an hour after midnight, we had a massive explosion in Kiev. So it was sad and it was worrying, and to be honest with you, it was terrifying to spend your holidays in a war zone.